All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. We'll have the, if everybody could rise for the presenting of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guard, post! Ready, base! Breathe and arms! I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms! Ready, base!
All right, before we get started into the school board appreciation, I just want to introduce Miss Lisa Swem. She's one of the board's attorneys, and also I got to make room up here for her, but Judy Champa is the did the independent investigation, which we're going to address tonight. So with that, we'll go to the school board appreciation.
Good evening, board. This year, it was Secretary's honor to work through and present the board with some gifts of appreciation, and we thought that it would be best if we incorporated our students in doing so. And because our CTE programs are so capable of producing such fine gifts, we utilize them to help show our appreciation for all that you do and all the time that you give and the support for all of our programs, not just secondary, but for all. And but it was just our turn to get the privilege to say thank you for all the hours and thought and time that you put in supporting our kids, our teachers, and our administrators. So Mrs. Kenward is going to explain a little bit about the gifts so that you know a little bit about what you have. Thank you.
Good evening. So the first gift that you have is behind you on the chair. And if you take a look at that, these are one of a kind. You are the only people that have this hoodie. So it's going to be a hot item, and it was designed by a student. And what's really unique about this gift is all of our 16 Career Tech programs are actually on the front of it. So that is it, Career Tech. And again, it's really cool, and enjoy wearing it. In front of you, you have a couple other gifts from some of our other departments. You have notepads. You each have 3 notepads. 2 of the notepads are personalized. Those are designed and created by our graphic arts students. And underneath that, you have an invitation for those of you, our new board members, if you haven't had a chance to attend our monthly buffet. You have an invitation where yourself and a guest can attend. All you need to do is show this ticket, and the date and the times are on there. And I can guarantee it's well worth it. February is going to be a heart theme, so we would love to have you all there. Just show up with that coupon. And that underneath, our advanced culinary arts students today made you homemade apple pies. So enjoy your homemade apple pie. So again, as Mr. McDonald said, thank you again for all your support. We have 16 strong programs, and we could not do that without your continual support for all your programs. So thank you again.
All right, now we'll go into the host school presentation. As you know, each different school we go to, we have the principal come up, and he invites some teachers up, and they give a presentation. So come on up, Mr. Latona.
Yes. Get this one set. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes.
Good evening. Welcome to Anchor Bay Middle School South, Anchor Bay Board of Education. We are honored to have been chosen for tonight's location for the board meeting. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you about our great school and some of the elements that make South special. Our school consists of 573 South Strong students who embody the extra degree philosophy, 50 plus staff members that come to work each day, committed to student achievement and building positive relationships. Our teaching staff works to develop lessons that engage students in the learning process and work collaboratively to succeed in an ever-changing world. As Ms. Pilon will talk about in just a moment, the board has recently invested in tools to support both math and the new state next generation science standards. Both middle school north and south have worked together to utilize the new tools in the classroom and to increase student achievement. Thank you for investing in those tools. We truly appreciate it. In addition to the new resources, and another point of pride, South was chosen as one of the initial Project Lead the Way schools in the county that brought STEM into the elective rotation. In these Project Lead the Way classes, students become engaged in problem-based learning. This was an initiative that we took on this year with the problem-based learning throughout the whole district, in which professional-grade inventor software allows students to solve real-world problems and learn a skill set that in years past was only taught at a higher level in the high school. And our kids learn that right now at a young age. All students who take the Project Lead the Way classes, grades 6 through 8, will develop a 3D puzzle, a playground, along with experiencing such classes as design and modeling, green architecture, energy and the environment, medical detectives, and app creators. The 3D printed Block S, I would argue that's the best gift you got tonight. That was created. Now something that was created in our Project Lead the Way classes, and it's something our kids will develop in the design and modeling class. South also offers students the opportunity to be involved in a dynamic performing arts program. From our stellar middle school band, led by Mr. Aranchek and Mr. Sauer, to the amazing performances put on by Miss Root and Miss Foraker. This very stage that you're sitting on has been home recently to performances such as The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, and Beauty and the Beast, all of which were extremely well done. And we are proud of all the things that we offer our kids at South. To explain more about our culture and the things that we do with our positive behavior interventions and supports, I'll ask my assistant principal, Ms. Hunter, to come up and talk.
Thank you, and welcome to the board to come here to South to have your meeting tonight. So our PBS program is based on a mindfulness and social-emotional focus. So we're looking at the whole child, and empathy is really a key factor in the success of our South Strong philosophy. If you see the banner over here, you might not be able to see where it's at, but the teachers and staff chose to focus on a strong philosophy that is a word play on word strong, and it's self-control, truthfulness, respect, owning your own choices, never giving up, and gratitude. So each month or bi-monthly, the teachers and the students focus on one of these philosophies, and right now we're focusing on respect. So we do it by kicking it off each month this year with a mini assembly that's 15 minutes where we kind of define the focus area, and then they're able to carry out and really understand what it is, and then they're able to carry it out with their teachers' resources within the classroom throughout that month or 2 months. So teachers are given some resources to be able to carry that theme on. Here at South, we also have a 212 philosophy. 212 degrees is actually the temperature in which water boils, and it takes a lot of effort and that extra effort to go from to boiling water. So it's that extra degree philosophy that South has to reach success. So we have 212 tokens that are printed by Mrs. Sheridan with our 3D printer, and we use those as positive behavior incentives for demonstrating whatever the monthly focus is, and really any positive behavior. Students can use that the 212 tokens as $1. So whether it's at the concessions, at a game, or in our school store that they're able to shop at during lunches, or they can also use them to have access to what we call chill time during our lunches. So it gives them access to go down to the gym, throw some balls around, play on their phones, kind of free time out of the lunchroom, and the kids really enjoy that. Some students were able to earn yearly long 212 tokens from the fundraising that we did this year. Next up, we do have Ms. Gretchen Pilon, who she will be speaking about the science curriculum and the resources. She is one of the science teachers here at South, and she also does some Project Lead the Way classes.
Good evening. My name is Gretchen Pilon, and I do teach 7th grade science here at Middle School South, as mentioned in 1 hour Project Lead the Way. I'm here to present some of the highlights of our science curriculum and materials that were purchased over the last summer. There's an example of a student book, I think, on the corner of your table. If you would please pass that around. That's the main feature of this series, is that it's a consumable textbook, which means that every child gets their own book to keep for as long as they wish. We encourage them to interact with the text by highlighting, underlining, answering questions right in their book, and it's theirs to keep, which increases their engagement with what we're doing in class. It also offers many online features, including an online version of the text that has an audio option so it can be read to them. It also includes virtual labs. Another great feature of this series is that they have pre-planned project-based learning projects for the students. For example, recently we learned about the human body, and students were asked to take on the role of a personal trainer. And they could be the personal trainer of any athlete of their choice. And they had to develop an exercise and healthy eating plan for their athlete. So as we were learning about each body system and how they interacted, they were able to immediately apply that knowledge to their project. And then they presented those to their classes. And we're just very thankful to have these updated materials for our students. Thank you.
Yes, and just to add to the new science text that was purchased and approved by the board, we appreciate that. That helps us adhere to the next generation science standards, which was a game changer for schools across the state to take on that and try to build curriculum. So that book has tremendously helped. So we appreciate the ability to purchase that curriculum in those books. One last thing that I want to go over tonight, I'd like to honor Dr. Martin Luther King, as we did this past Monday, his birthday, the national holiday. We have 2 South Strong students that we've chosen to speak that embody positivity and inclusion. 8th grader Nevena Gallus and 7th grader Zanaya Nolan. Both are students that embody the spirit of unity that Dr. King believed in. They will give you a brief history of Dr. King in an excerpt from the I Have a Dream speech. Nevena, if you'd come up.
Martin Luther King Jr., original name Michael King Jr., was a Baptist minister and social activist who led the civil rights movement from the mid-1950s until his death in 1968. His leadership was fundamental to the movement's success in ending the legal segregation of African Americans in the South and in the rest of the United States. King rose to the national prominence as head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which promoted nonviolent tactics such as the Massive March on Washington in 1963 to achieve civil rights. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. Here are some facts about Dr. King and his legacy. Did you know Dr. King entered college at the age of 15? He was such a gifted student that he skipped grades 9 and 12 before enrolling in college in 1944. Did you know Dr. King was imprisoned nearly 30 times for standing up for what he believed in? Did you know Dr. King and George Washington are the only 2 Americans to have their birthdays marked as a national holiday? Did you know Dr. King almost didn't give the I Have a Dream part of the speech? It wasn't until a person in the audience urged Dr. King to talk about the dream. Did you also know Dr. King previewed the famous I Have a Dream speech in Detroit at the Detroit Walk to Freedom event? The speech was so good that he then took its steps at the Lincoln Memorial and ended it right there.
There's just a few facts about Dr. King, but Zanaya's going to come up and give you the little excerpt from the I Have a Dream speech.
This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing the song with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my father died, land where the pilgrims cried, from every mountainside let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring from the hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening mountains of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountains of Georgia. Let freedom ring from the Lookout Mountains of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from the hills and molehills of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, when we'll be able to speed up the day, when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will all be able to join hands and sing the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank you, God Almighty, we are free at last.
Great job, both Nevada and Zanaya. I'm jealous. I give that speech every year, and it's passionate, and she did a great job. As you move on with the board meeting tonight, the key to South's success really lies in the amazing teaching staff, the support staff, and the extraordinary students that we have. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about our school.
Thanks for that Thanks for that presentation. That was awesome. It's great to start the meetings off like this. So now we will move into open forum. Start with Michelle Bernex.
Good evening. Everybody can hear me? Does that sound? I wasn't really going to come and talk today. It was kind of last minute. I thought about it. The last time I was here was in the wake of Colonel Carruthers being investigated in the ROTC program. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Booster Club. We are trying very hard to keep the program going, and we still to this day, our cadets are still asking, is Colonel coming back? Please communicate directly with the cadets. They deserve to hear what's going on. An email to the parents is not going to do it. They deserve to hear it from them, from the Anchor Bay District. We also have a penny auction coming up. We're still moving forward, trying to do the best for the cadets in the wake of what's going on. We are working very hard. Senior Q is putting in so many hours. Every single day, probably 12 hours. The Booster Club, we are so short on help because parents don't know what's going on, and there's a lot of, we don't know. We just want to make sure that you guys are going to, like I said, I don't have anything prepared, supporting us and getting Senior Q another teacher or get Colonel back. He can't, it can't keep going like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Broussard.
Good afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank you guys for letting me speak and being here tonight. I'm here on behalf of Colonel Carruthers. What happened with him in the program started long before he got there, as I said in my last speech. This is a program that I entered in 8th grade under the leadership of Captain Warder. At that time, there was 8th graders long before I'd gotten there, and there still continues to be 8th graders. If the school cared about the program and wanted it to succeed, it would have done things like the other schools did. When we traveled around the country, we'd go to all these other different schools. They bragged about their ROTC program. They would have them showcased, they would include them in everything, and it would be the same as their varsity football team. When we go to Anchor Bay, our program's put off into a corner with a very small showcase to maybe put a couple trophies in. Every year, the ROTC program gave away scholarships, and we earned our scholarships. We brought home trophies, national trophies. We were out there busting our butts, and the school really just didn't care. It seemed like we were just an afterthought. And if this program is going to continue, it needs to continue with a full support so that the numbers stay up, so this kind of situation never happens again, and it truly needs Colonel. So, again, thanks for letting me speak, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Dennis Richards.
Good evening. 3 minutes. Today, I reached out to a lot of school board members. I used Google to try and find your phone numbers. Some of you may have gotten messages from me. Some strangers may have gotten a voicemail from me also. I even used Facebook, where I was able to send messages to 4 of 7 board members. So far, I've only heard from 1. I wanted to make sure everyone on the board understands my frustration. I know a lot of you in the school administration have children in the Anchor Bay School District. That seems to be a line the administration likes to be sure to point out if you ever have had a one-on-one conversation with them. Mr. Woodside told me that a few years ago when we spoke on the phone, we spoke about an incident with the varsity football team and the lack of communication from the school to the parents on what was going on. Ms. Kenward used it when she called me back when I reached out to her about Colonel Carruthers and the junior ROTC program. What I want everyone here to understand is what my current 10th graders going through, your children will never go through. The ROTC program is not business as usual. My son enjoyed junior ROTC when Colonel Carruthers was the instructor. He would talk about his day in junior ROTC at dinner just about every night. With what happened to the junior ROTC program and Colonel Carruthers, our son started telling us how he was no longer enjoying the class. We would tell him to stick it out, give it time, let the school work on it, and adjust to the change. This was 1 week at a time, turned into 4 days, 5 days, a week, where he was expressing his dislike for the class. We finally gave in a few weeks ago. We contacted my son's school counselor. The counselor had my son go down and meet with him. They talked about some options and how if my son stopped taking junior ROTC, he would only receive half a credit, and how his new class was a full year class and he would not get any credit for that half semester. When we discussed this with my 10th grader, he told me he didn't care if he had to go to summer school to make up the credit, he would. What 10th grader, boy, would want to do that, would want to go to summer school? I did receive a call from Sergeant Quintana. We had a discussion about it, and I recommended that he speak to my son. He hasn't had any luck convincing my son to stay. This is not business as usual, nor do I think you have an understanding what business as usual is in that class. This is affecting the students of Anchor Bay. You've already heard from another parent. I'm starting to believe that Anchor Bay School Administration does not have my son's best interest in mind, nor the parents of the students, nor the community's best interest. This is evident based off of the zero support you've given Colonel Carruthers. You all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Stephanie Richards.
Hello, my name
name is Stephanie Richards of 9980 Arnold Road. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I am here once again in support of Colonel, the man that we let take the fall for having 8th graders in the ROTC program. You have heard myself and others provide evidence that the 8th graders being in the program started way before Colonel. However, did you know that the 8th graders are still actively participating in the ROTC program, even though Colonel is no longer there? Their parents still believe they are part of the ROTC program, which why wouldn't they? They wear ROTC red polo shirts on uniform day. They are invited to attend ROTC Booster Club meetings. They acted as ROTC cadets at Wreaths Across America, and they even got the chance to celebrate with the ROTC students at their annual pancake breakfast. All of these things took place after the Air Force told us to get the 8th graders out of the program. All of these things took place after Colonel was decertified and no longer in the classroom. This is not right. I know that I am not always right, and thus when I find myself in a disagreement, I try to be respectful and open-minded about where the other side is coming from. I have done that here. I have put myself in your shoes, and I still don't understand it. In this case, I feel I have chosen the right side. Supporting Colonel is the side that most benefits our students, district, and community. I am extremely disappointed to know that my school board and administrators are on the wrong side. The side that isn't what is best for our students, district, and community. Not that any of you have come out and stated that to me, but your actions and or lack thereof actions speak much louder than your words would in any way. I do not envy any of you. Heck, sometimes I even sympathize with you. You have chosen to do a very tough job, but it was your choice. And although there is no possible way you could ever make everyone happy, it is not your job to do so. Your job is to be making choices that best serve the students and district as a whole. I ask you tonight to remember that you need to put our students and district's well-being before everything else. Thank you.
Jeff Carruthers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for letting me address you tonight again. I'm Jeff Carruthers, 9750 Arnold Road in Ira Township, Michigan. We've come a long way. Long way so far. Just yesterday, about 3 o'clock, I did receive the district's notice of planning or intention of terminating my employment contract that was signed by Mr. DeRue, the board president. So in this open forum, I let you know that I did receive it, and I did read it, and that is why I'm addressing you tonight. Since October, and actually well before October, I would almost say a year, maybe even 2 years, I've addressed many of you in small sessions to talk about the issues that are ongoing. Many other people that work in the district have shared similar stories with you of their own misfortunes in quotes. I have stacks and stacks of evidence that I've shared with the investigator and many of you on the board. I bring back just a few, so if you could please. These should look familiar. These are things that we shared at the first board meeting. Okay, there are things that either are signed from the MOA or letters that were sent out or memos that were provided to administrators that specifically said that what the district has chosen to do was illegal and violated the MOA. This is Corey. I love Corey. Okay. Corey is one of those people that was in the ROTC program in 8th grade that I have heard don't exist because I evidently started this on my own. But that's not true at all. Corey, and he could name many people. Jason, okay, many people that were in 8th grade in this program way before I got here with the full knowledge of the school district. Were you on drill?
Yes, sir.
Did you wear a uniform?
Yes, sir.
Who gave you that uniform?
Captain Warder did.
Captain Werder. He had to account for that, didn't he? Did you go on trips?
Every trip I could.
Have that permission forms, right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Okay. The aim of Junior ROTC is to build better citizens. Well, rest assured, okay, parents, guardians, cadets, some of which are in the audience, non-cadets, staff members, and members of the community are watching. They are watching, okay? They've seen the documents, they've heard the discussions, they've watched the videos. They're going to be watching what you as elected citizens to the board will choose to have reflected in the annals of time with regards to what we talked about for many months. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, John McMahon.
Good evening. My name is John McMahon. I'm a father of 3 boys in the district. I'm speaking on behalf of several parents that are in attendance tonight. We're inquiring about adding 7th grade football to the middle schools. As you may have heard, there have been some recent changes to the Charters Youth Football League. Over the past few months, we've expressed interest to several staff members, including Mr. Battle, Mr. Ledbetter, Mr. Pollock, Mr. Belina, and Mr. Medley, which is the reason why we're here today. You have a community full of parents that are willing to help in any way to see this through. Thank you.
Kate Monroe.
Wow, first time I ever got to speak at a board meeting like this. I am also in agreement of hoping that we can get a 7th grade football team as well. I've been in the district. My son started at Sugarbush 15 years ago, and I've been strong and loyal to the sports as well. 13 years ago, my son started playing football. They've played all the way up to, he played up to his 11th grade year, decided that he wanted to focus on his baseball. My youngest now is going into 7th grade. He really hopes to find a place to play. Sadly, with the TAFL folding the way it did, with us leaving the TARS organization, we have no place for 90 kids to go. We tried looking at other options of joining other leagues. They only sadly want 1 team per varsity. We can't put 90 kids on 1 team. So we're going to have to probably all split up. Now our kids have been playing football together since 2nd grade. We want to hope to continue playing football from 2nd through 12th grade. That's our dream. Without that, we're going to have to either move to different districts that do possibly have a 7th grade team, or join other leagues and maybe be a feeder program for Dakota or L'Anse Creuse, which is sad because we played the politics. We played playing Anchor Bay Bucks, Anchor Bay Tars, and now we want to be just one community again. Not only that, it would help benefit the kids for their grades. In 7th grade, they like their athletes. You know, they want to play football, they want to play basketball, they want to run track, they want to play baseball. There's so many opportunities out there, and these kids, they're a great group of kids. They're strong, and they're highly athletic, they're smart, and so it would only benefit them for their grades because they have to maintain great grades. Having only an 8th grade football team at South makes it hard to find schools that want to play us because they have 7th grade teams. We don't. So we had to venture out and try to find teams to play our 8th grade teams that don't have a 7th grade team as well. Does that make sense? And the last thing is they are a family. Like I said, they've been together, they're best friends. They're going to stand up in each other's wedding, I know it, because they're that close. So when you have these kids from 2nd grade all the way up through 12th, if they can at least play together one more year before they reach their 8th grade, I think it's just going to make them a lot stronger. Thank you.
Bridget Heck.
Hello, Bridget Heck, 53566 Meadow Creek Drive. I'm in agreement with Kate and John. My son's a 6th grader right now, loves playing with all his friends, wants to continue playing with his friends, looks forward to playing with them in the future and into high school, and why not start that camaraderie now? So I would like you guys to consider 7th grade both for South and for North. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank everybody for their comments there. Now we'll go into...
Mr. Chair, could we, administration, I know Mike probably is quite aware of it, but I don't understand this gap. I don't know the youth football and junior high football. They kept talking about there's a gap. I don't need to know right this minute, but if someone could write something up to explain that process.
There's a couple of us who have kids in the program.
I'm not into the youth football, but I know if you go to the high school, there's 1 million kids over there, and if there's a gap, we should at least understand what that means. I don't understand it, so that's why I'm asking.
I spoke with the 8th grade coach a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about that problem of not having a 7th grade program where it's hard to find teams to play.
No, I understand that.
It make complete sense to have 7th grade football, but we'll talk about it.
Yep.
The Student Congress update from Riley Arnold.
So Student Congress met yesterday and shared an update of activities since our last meeting in December. The focus of the meeting was an activity related to the celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. and ideas we have for activities to promote including students in our schools. For the high school, we just had Tar Tuesday. It was Pajama Day. It's currently exam week. Glow Coming is coming up, our winter dance, and we also have the Oscar event coming up. For Ashley Elementary, 4th grade students performed for the staff with their recorders. The 4th grade class also went to Lansing, and 5th grade class finished Starbase. For Lighthouse, they had a pizza fundraiser. McDonald Public Library came to visit them. They have an upcoming band concert, and 1st grade read to service dogs. For Sugar Bush, they did cookies and milk with Santa. They had a movie night. They made a poster for Be the Eye in Kind and had a food drive for Feed the Bay, and they're celebrating friendship with a upcoming Spirit Day. For middle school South, they just had girls basketball tryouts, boys wrestling, boys basketball season ends next week, and midterms are underway currently. For Lottie, they also had a pizza fundraiser. They had a snowman spirit day. Starbase also ended. They had a healthy eating assembly, and they're going to have a Red Wing Spirit Day soon, and they also had a band performance. For Great Oaks, there is an upcoming band performance. They also had a food drive for Feed the Bay. They had a Chef Boyardee microwave drive. For middle school North, they had girls basketball tryouts. Wrestling will also begin soon, and they have midterms this week as well. And boys basketball is underway. For McConn's, they had family game night. They're doing jump rope for heart. There's an after-school science club beginning soon. There's also a band performance coming up. The 3rd and 4th grade students made Martin Luther King Jr. posters, and 5th grade made posters on famous African Americans for Black History Month. For Nuldrip, they had a food drive for Feed the Bay as well. They're also selling pencils and erasers for a fundraiser and having Records Day on Friday. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
All right, now the JRLTC update. Oh, and we're going to release Riley Arnold. She needs to go study for exams, so give her another round of applause for all that hard studying.
Good evening. I am Cadet First Lieutenant Joshua Mayer, the current Support Squadron Commander of Unit MI-931 of Anchor Bay. Tonight I'll be providing you with our JRTC update. Things have been going extremely well in our program. Despite the short length of December, we've gotten a lot done. Besides Wreaths Across America, which you heard about earlier, we teamed up with the National Honor Society and Peer Mediation to take part in the Toys for Tots program. Through that, we managed to collect over 500 toys total. And we also had our annual cadet Christmas party, at which 44 cadets attended. That's about 50% of our program. We don't usually see those type of numbers, so that's a good improvement for us. The first order of business after break in January was attending the Anchor Bay Chamber of Commerce's State of the Bay address. That's a rare opportunity for us. We were invited by Miss Catherine Green. We appreciate her support. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to go. There we posted the colors, as you did earlier today, and we were able to meet several guest speakers, such as Senator Gary Peters and Candace Miller, the Macomb County Public Works Director. Very good, very insightful. We learned a lot. Additionally, on the 19th of January, a Sunday, at Premier Lanes, we held our bowling fundraiser. We had a greater turnout than we had actually expected initially, and Mayor John Dupre was there, so that was great. We got to talk with him. And we really appreciate the amount of support we've seen in the community, especially in these past few months. It's been a little difficult for us, but we're starting to see a turnaround in events. We're starting to make that progress again. We continue to do color guards, of course, at the school board meetings, but also at the boys and girls varsity basketball games at the high school, as well as at Chesterfield Township board meetings. And the cadets really appreciate this because it's not only a good opportunity for them to serve, but also to train themselves for the future, drill meets, things such as that. On February 1st, we're going to head off to Howell, a drill meet. We're going to face off against a number of schools. I don't know how many they're having, but it's going to be a big event. We have been practicing weekly, 3 times a week usually. We're also training an exhibition drill team for our recruiting efforts, which are coming up as well. If you'd like to come to the drill meet, it will be at 511 North Highlander Way in Howell, Michigan, and the events will begin at 8 a.m. and continue through 3 p.m. We appreciate any support. Further, we've been in full prep mode for our 20th annual penny auction, which will be held on the 22nd of February in the South Commons of the high school. The doors will be open at 4 p.m., and auctioning will begin promptly at 6 p.m. We invite everyone to attend this great event, and we have personal invitations for all of you on the board. It's a family-oriented event. We want everybody to be able to have fun. We don't want it to be boring, so we want you to bring everyone you can, a group effort. We're all in this together. Please save the date, come out. We appreciate it. If you'd like to donate an item, you can contact the high school and go to extension 2356 to talk to Sergeant Quintana, or you can drop it off directly. That'll work as well. Recently, as I mentioned, we're holding recruiting events at the high school during lunches where we had an informational table, and we're trying to implement our curriculum more into those tables to try and explain to students what they're actually doing in the classes. So this past time, we actually had our drone out for our aerospace program, and that was piloted by Cadet Alyssa Campbell. And that shows students, hopefully, that they can get a lot of skills in here that will help them in technical careers in the future, not just in the military, but also in civilian positions as well. Doing that, we had some small maneuvers, and hopefully we can interest some cadets, future cadets maybe, with that. Also, we're planning several assemblies. I know one at the high school and one at each middle school for certain, and we mainly want to focus on getting incoming 9th graders in, but we also feel that it's good to make sure we hit those grade levels in the high school, maybe if they're missing credits and they want to make those up. As you can tell, we've been very busy, but what we've learned over this past few months is that we're pretty unstoppable, especially with the support of the community behind us. It's been a trying time, but we're learning to overcome this, and hopefully that'll help us the next time we face a challenge. It's a very exciting time for us. We're seeing a lot of developments, we're reorganizing, becoming more efficient, and I think we're going to see a lot of growth in the future. It's important to note that this is a citizenship program. This is not solely about the military. We have military aspects, we're proud to be Americans, but we want to prepare you for whatever you want to do, because we understand that service is not just the military, it's developing a cure for cancer. It's whatever you want to do in life. And in any given year, we actually only see 1 to 3 cadets that will join the military. This year's actually on the low end with 1. But with that being said, that concludes our update, and I'd like to thank you all for your time and ask you to have a great evening.
Thank you for that informative update. At this point, I know we talked about always doing closed sessions at the end, but we got a few things we need to talk about that will affect items later in the agenda. So at this point, we need a motion to convene into closed session to review privileged attorney-client communications pursuant to 8H Open Meetings Act. Anybody?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Burkmeyer, seconded by Moses. Vote by roll.
Question? For the record, can you state who the attorneys were meeting with?
We will be meeting with Judy Champa, and Lisa Swem.
And that's to review?
We'll be reviewing the investigation with Judy, and we'll be reviewing the opinion letter on Carruthers' employment with Lisa.
Okay.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
No.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer, yes. Ms. Akavetti Hendershot?
Yes.
Mr. Drew?
Yes. Motion passes. We are in closed session. All right, we are out of closed session, back into open session at, what time is it? 9:31. At this time, the board will take under consideration a motion to terminate the contract of Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers. However, before we do so, I would like to offer Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers the opportunity to address the board. And Lieutenant Carruthers has the option to address the board in either an open forum, or he may request a closed session to make a statement to the board. Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers has informed the board prior to this meeting of his decision to go into closed session. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 8A of the Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Green.
I'll second.
Second by Trustee DeWitt. Is there, we'll vote by roll.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer, yes. Ms. Akavetti Hendershot?
Yes.
Mr. Drew?
Yes. Time, it's got to be probably 9:32. 9:33, board's in closed session. All right, board's back in open session at 9:47 p.m. At this point, I'll read a resolution that'll be brought before the board. Whereas Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey A. Carruthers is employed by the district pursuant to the terms and conditions of annual employment agreement, which in part states that the employee is at will and that the district may terminate the agreement at any time with or without cause. In correspondence dated October 29, 2019, Colonel Stephen Sanders, Director of Air Force JROTC, notified the district that the Air Force permanently removed the AFJ ROTC instructor certification for Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers, who appealed the Air Force action. Number 3, Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers was placed on paid administrative leave pending his appeal to the Air Force. Number 4, in a December 30th, 2019 communication to the district, Air Force Chief of Instructor Management David Richardson stated that the Air Force had denied the decertification appeal filed by Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers, and that effective today, the Air Force cost share for his minimum instructor pay is terminated. Number 5, in correspondence dated January 16th, 2020, the superintendent notified Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers that in light of the Air Force decision about his decertification and the related termination of the Air Force's cost share of his minimum instructor pay, I have recommended that the board take action at its January 22nd, 2020 meeting to terminate the employment agreement between you and the district. Number 6, Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers was provided an opportunity to address the board on the recommendation. Now therefore be it resolved that the employment agreement between the district and Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey A. Carruthers is terminated effective January 22nd, 2020. The superintendent is directed to provide written notice to Lieutenant Colonel Carruthers of the board's action, along with a copy of this resolution. All resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Can I get a motion for this resolution?
I'll move.
Motion by Marie DeWitt. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Accavetti. Vote by roll.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick question. On item 5, you said correspondent dated the superintendent notified.
That should be corrected to the board
Oh,
president.
The board
yeah, that was
president.
the board president. Yep. Correct, thank you.
Yep.
Yep, I didn't catch that.
No, I just thought, make sure it's correct.
Yeah, just for, I guess, to expound on that, is it's usually from the superintendent, but given the motion that was made at this table to where the superintendent could not talk about any of this, the issues revolving this JROTC, the investigation and all that, so he didn't, they had me sign the letter to the colonel, so.
So the person making the motion agree?
You, oh yeah, you, Marie agree to the change?
In my head, I heard of
Yes, I agree.
board president.
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah. All right, vote by roll.
We're in her head now. Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. DeWitt,
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer, yes. Ms. Accavetti Hendershot,
Yes.
Mr. Giroux.
Yes. Motion passes, or resolution passes. All right, now on to, just want to briefly have a few comments on the investigation. In the closed session, we talked about the investigative report with Attorney Judy Ciampa. And based on the results of the investigative report and in consultation with the attorney, the board found there to be, just want to let everybody know, no basis for any further discipline to any district employees. And the board also realizes, though, that there needs to be restructuring of the oversight and accountability processes. So we'll be working on that in the future. At this point, as far as the, while in closed session, I put together a resolution in consultation with our attorney dealing with the release of the investigative report. So I'll read that resolution. Whereas at its November 6, 2019 meeting, the board voted to direct the board president to enter into an agreement to investigate the circumstances surrounding the JROTC violations at Anchor Bay High School. Pursuant to board authorization, the board president engaged the services of Judy Ciampa, Miller Cohen PLC to investigate the circumstances surrounding the ROTC violations at Anchor Bay High School. Attorney Ciampa has completed the investigation and reported her findings to the board in a document protected by the attorney-client privilege. Now therefore, be it resolved that effective February 12, 2020 at 3 p.m., the board waives the attorney-client privilege to the investigation report prepared for the board by Attorney Ciampa. The board's waiver of the attorney-client privilege is strictly limited to the investigation report and exhibits prepared by Attorney Ciampa and does not apply to any other document or circumstance. The board directs Attorney Ciampa to prepare a public version of the investigation report by redacting only that information which, in Attorney Ciampa's opinion, is not disclosable under the Michigan Freedom of Information Act. The board's November 6, 2019 directive to the superintendent and district employees is rescinded effective immediately. All resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Is there a motion to pass that resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Green. Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Ms. Accavetti. Vote by roll.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer, yes. Ms. Akavetti Hendershot?
Yes.
Mr. Giroux?
Yes. All right, motion passes. Now we're going to go into, we have personnel hiring. Ms. Laura?
Good evening. Tonight I ask for you to approve the hiring of Elizabeth Waitkiss. She is a candidate for the high school science, environmental science position. She did she was a student teacher for us in the fall, and she has stepped into a long-term sub position upon finishing that, and she's still currently with us. The administration at the high school was very pleased with her and would like to bring her on to fill this much-needed vacancy.
All right. Is there any, I guess, is there a motion from the board to hire Ms. Watkins?
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Motion by Akavetti, seconded by Mr. Middlestat. Is there any discussion?
Is Elizabeth here tonight, by chance? I know it's late.
Yeah. Is Elizabeth here?
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's not.
Probably has to work in the morning.
Yeah.
All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Now we'll go into bills payable. You got your bills for the month of December 2019. Have Ms. Robin Randazzo.
Thank you. As you just mentioned, you do have in front of you the bills payable and the summary detailed check register for the month of December. Does the board have any questions?
Is there any questions from the board?
I'd like to make the motion to accept bills payable for December 2019 as presented.
Motion by Ms. Akavetti. Is there a second?
I'll support.
Supported by Mr. Green. All those in favor? Oh, we have to do that by roll, right? By roll?
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer, yes. Ms. Akavetti Hendershot?
Yes.
Mr. Giroux?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have I asked Assistant Superintendent Todd Rathbun to put together a list of a kind of a resolution of the next board meeting so that we can put it out there to the public. So we have for February 26, 2020, at McCons Elementary, March 25th, 2020, Ashley Elementary, April 15th, Naldred Elementary, May 27th, Lottie M. Schmidt, June 24th, Sugarbush Elementary, and then August 19th at the high school. Is there a motion to approve the establishment of a regular meeting location, changes as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Moses. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Berkmeyer. Any discussion? Mr. Middlestat?
I don't see Lighthouse on here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Just kidding.
Well, we can.
Ran out of meetings.
I have to say, Janine and I have to say that. So.
All right.
We have children there.
Oh. Well, we'll be sure to go over there maybe for a special meeting just for you guys.
Or the first one of the next calendar
Correct.
year, if we can make note.
Yep. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. What do we got? Field trips.
I move to approve all the following CTE field trips, which is HOSA to Traverse City, DECA to Detroit, and BPA to Grand Rapids.
Motion by Mr. Middlestat. Is there a second?
I'll support.
Supported by Ms. Akavetti. Is there any discussion? Ms. Randazzo, do you want to say anything? Or Ms. Skidmore?
No, just that this is a real exciting time for our career tech students. So they all competed in regional competitions, and we always have amazing winners, and I am going to invite them to the next board meeting so you can meet them. But just real quick, in HOSA, we had 5 winners that are going on to state. DECA, we had 7 winners and 14 medals. In BPA, we had 5 winners, but what's real exciting about these students is we actually had 2 students that placed first place, one in advanced interview skills and C++ programming. So we're real excited about them going to state and representing our high school. Thank you.
All right, next, we got a review of a student reinstatement. I put together a committee.
Oh, we have to vote.
What's that?
We didn't call the vote.
Call a vote of what?
He support.
I thought we did.
No.
Steve just did it so quick. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. I'm jumping the gun.
It's getting late. Just move it along.
Huh?
I said just move it along.
All right, I'm moving along. I'm going to read this on advice of our council. So, a review of a student reinstatement. Student number 1191 was expelled through the first semester for writing threatening racial statements towards staff and students. These papers were thrown from the second-story balcony to the commons by another student. On Monday, January 20th, 2020, the reinstatement committee, consisting of the parents of the student, 1191, high school assistant principal David Bosco, board members Janine Accavetti-Hedershot, Lisa Berkmeyer, Michael Moses, and Central Office Administrator Joe McDonald, met to review the progress made toward the reinstatement criteria set forth by the board at October regular board meeting. The reinstatement criteria is as follows. Number 1, successful continuation and participation in his homeward bound educational services. Number 2, acceptance of school social work services. Number 3, participation in ongoing therapy, including providing the school district with a written statement from a licensed outside clinical professional, confirming that he is not a threat to harm himself or others. After discussion with the student and his parents and reviewing documents provided by our homebound teacher and an outside clinical professional, the committee unanimously agreed that the reinstatement criteria was met. Therefore, the committee unanimously recommends to the board that student 1191 be reinstated starting the first day of the second semester, Monday, January 27th, 2020. Is there a motion to uphold the committee's recommendation?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Ms. Berkmeyer. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Moses. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, got a budget resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't agree with the resolution as presented, so I'm making this recommendation. Whereas the school board recognizes the importance for both students and teachers.
You're making a totally new one?
It's,
Okay.
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Importance for both students and teachers to have current textbooks and instructional materials in order to maintain academic excellence and leadership. Whereas for the 2020 academic year, both houses of the legislature and the governor restored funding for international students, counting them as full-time equivalent students. Whereas receiving these funds, Anchor Bay Schools International Program Fund now has approximately surplus of $700,000. Whereas the Anchor Bay School Board of Education has made a commitment to utilize available dollars from the program to directly serve students within the district, now therefore be resolved that the Anchor Bay School Board of Education allocate the $500,000 from the International Fund for the purchase of student textbooks and instructional materials.
So that's a motion by Mr. Middlestat. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Ms. Accavetti. And during discussion, I'd like to ask Todd, we talked about this at length. There's that much extra money there?
We have talked at length about our financial position and what we're expecting. We're going to address that at the next board meeting. I would not be in favor of spending an additional $500,000 on textbooks given our current financial situation.
I would have to say, I mean, we talked about this at length, given our financial position right now and the fact that we already, I mean, the original resolution here that we were looking at, that we talked about, was to rescind the $500,000 that we approved to spend April 17, 2019. I get what you're doing, but
No, my position is that motion said the district, the reason we have to cut it is because the original funding proposed by the governor in our initial school budget that we received less funding. And we've said many times that what are we going to do with that $700,000 then? Are we going to spend it on textbooks, or what are we going to do with it? I've got $700,000 sitting here. Why wouldn't I spend that on textbooks? Or am I taking international money and putting it somewhere else? That's my question.
I think it's, we have different budgets for each area, but I think the financial situation, the recommendation is that we're not going to be able to do the textbooks. And yes, the revenues generated from the foreign exchange program was probably a little over $700,000. We would use that in the general fund. Now, it doesn't mean that some of that wouldn't go towards, teaching supplies, salaries. I mean, it could go to anything, but the idea that, financially, that we do need to build the fund equity, and this is the first step to do that.
I think that money being over there doesn't mean we can't move it over to the general fund and
No, I
use
understand
this.
that, but
That was the conversation.
I certainly understand the financial situation we're in, but I saw that presentation in the beginning of this board meeting about what value those books and instructional materials are, and again, we've made commitments that said, I've got these additional funds sitting at the international fund, it should serve students. So do we just say, okay, I'm going to take that money that we received from the international students and just say, I'm just going to use it for salaries?
I think
is that what we're going to do? Then we need to be straightforward and say, yeah, we're just taking all the funds we received from the international program and not bringing it back to students.
I think,
it in the
Steve, that
fund.
we need to, as a district, we made decisions on the contracts that we approved, this board approved, and that's money spent. We would all love to sit up here and say that it would be great to buy books for every subject. It'd be great to pay everyone more. It'd be great to do all kinds of things. But you've seen the budget. We've all saw the budget, and I just, in my personal opinion, is this would be a bad mistake.
My concern is that, we did not reconvene our budget committee, finance committee, and look at other options. And I was kind of, blindsided by the proposal I didn't know about before. I got the board packet. And I've been in this district many years, when many, many years went by where we bought no textbooks. And we're dealing with a lot of outdated texts. So to me, I don't know that I'm ready to make that decision yet without more information. I think it should be tabled.
Table it until we know the total budget situation.
Yeah, I think as we do each year, we know that we're going to do a budget resolution probably next month, updating the budget that the board approved in July, as we do each year. Once we have more information, we understand what all of our costs are. I think at that time, or soon after, as I've said at the start of the school year, that we would be, the board would be reviewing the allocation of funds at that time, where we get into more detail. But under the current circumstance, I think for creating the budget for next month, we do need to make this transfer back to the general fund. We need to update the budget come February, and we can provide to the board, choices. I talked about before that we may have 10 different things the board wants to do, but ultimately you're going to be able to afford 5. And that's part of the process in budgeting, and that's what we'll do probably soon after February. The board, either finance committee or working board meeting, we're going to address that and prepare the budget for the following year.
I find it, I just want to address something real quick. Because of your guys' experience and what you've told me, Steve, you are the finance committee chairman.
Correct.
And Ms. DeWitt, you are on the finance committee. So to say that you guys didn't have a chance to meet.
You said 3 meetings ago that you weren't going to do finance meetings.
We've talked about this
The textbooks
at the
came
last
up
meeting.
and passed.
We talked about this at the last meeting, which both of you were here.
Yes.
No, we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about taking money away from the textbooks in the board
No,
meeting.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it.
I would like to make a comment. I can support Mr. DeRue in this. It was discussed, and I will say that I am not in favor of holding a textbook purchase over the heads of some of our employees that we're still actively bargaining with. I don't think that's fair. Those employees were put off at their own goodwill. They were willing to do that for us, and I don't think that it's fair that we are automatically reassigning without in-depth discussion money that we did agree to withhold from textbooks at this time without having a more in-depth discussion at this meeting. So that's my opinion, and I definitely would not be in favor of allocating money on this date. And I honestly would probably not be in favor of allocating money until we're done bargaining with all of our employees.
I just felt, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I was not at the meeting. Maybe I was, I don't know. All I'm saying is that I did not expect this. And I guess that right now I'm hearing the recommendations of our deputy sup and the superintendent. I was not aware that this was on the table. And so maybe I need to feel that we have looked into it more in depth. I'm not saying that we don't have deficits, and I was aware of that at the last Finance Committee meeting. That was very clear. But I guess I did not think that we were at that juncture when we hadn't pursued or evaluated other avenues of areas that could be considered as additional revenue without going to this. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I just want to clarify a couple things. The last meeting, everybody was present, but there is a difference between being able to let the general public know what happens in an open meeting and what happens in a closed session meeting. And we were in closed session last meeting. And if people are going to sit up here and outright lie, that's wrong. So,
Mr. President, I believe you have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, tell me a liar.
Call the vote, sir.
Vote by roll.
So to clarify, the vote is to transfer international fund dollars to use towards the original textbook purchase, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Green.
Can you read the motion one more time, please?
Steve has it.
Whereas the school board recognizes the importance for both students and teachers to have current textbooks and instructional materials in order to maintain academic excellence and leadership. Whereas in the 2019-2020 academic year, both houses of the legislature and the governor restored funding for international students, counting them as full-time equivalent students. Whereas having received those funds, the Anchor Bay School International Program Fund now has an undesignated surplus of approximately $700,000. Whereas the Anchor Bay School Board of Education has made a commitment to utilize available dollars from the International Program Fund to directly serve students within the district, therefore be resolved, the Anchor Bay School Board of Education shall allocate $500,000 from the International Programs Funds for the purpose of purchasing student textbooks and instructional materials.
Thank you.
Okay, the roll. Mr. Green.
No.
Ms. DeWitt.
Wait, we're in the middle of the vote.
Could you read it again, please?
No. No.
Can I clarify, or is it not?
It's a yes or no vote.
appropriate? Okay. I say yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
No.
Ms. Berkmeyer, no. Ms. Akavetti Hendershot?
I'm very conflicted. I am going to say, unfortunately, at this time, I would feel like I'd like additional time.
You got to just say yes or no.
I can say what I want to say.
Okay, that's not how you do it, but
I haven't entitled to state my reasons why I vote. Rather, someone may like it or not. Conflictedly, no. But yes, I do understand what we originally said where the money was going to go. And that's all I'm going to say.
So your vote is no.
Yes.
Mr. DeRue?
no. Is there anybody that would like to make the resolution as it was presented? I'll present it this way, unless you want to. Whereas on April 17th, 2019, at a regular meeting of the Anchor Bay Board of Education, a resolution was made and unanimously approved to purchase $500,000 of new textbooks in the 2019-20 school year. And whereas Anchor Bay School District received less funding than originally proposed by the governor in her initial school aid budget, and whereas Anchor Bay School District is projecting to have a spending deficit for the 2019-20 school year, now therefore be it resolved, the Anchor Bay Board of Education hereby rescinds its prior motion to purchase $500,000 of textbooks in the 2019-20 school year. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Moses, is there a second?
I will second for the purpose of discussion, sir.
Second by Mr. Green. Is there any discussion? Mr. Green?
I'm concerned about the 500,000. It sounds like Todd has said that what we're doing with it is the appropriate thing to do. It sounds like we've got some folks who are still conflicted because nothing's changed in the past 3 minutes. Maybe a motion to table this till the next meeting would be more appropriate.
I would support that.
I would like to clarify that I was not aware that we were ready to rescind the motion to buy the textbooks.
And I agree.
And I'll expect your apology, because you will not sit in a public meeting and ever call me a liar. Maybe my understanding was different than yours.
We're going to move on. So you seconded the motion, then you motion to table it?
Indeed, sir, that is what I've done.
All right.
If the board tables,
That's fine.
we're bringing the budget resolution next month, no matter what. So
Perfect.
we could bring two resolutions. There's nothing wrong with that.
Correct. Is there a second to table it?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. It's tabled. All right. Union Communications. Anybody? Why would you not want to come up right now? All right. Second chance at open forum. All righty. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda, minutes of the regular meeting of December 18th, 2019, and the financial report as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I support.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right. Mr. Superintendent, you have anything you want to say?
I just wanted to reiterate what the buildings did as far as celebrating MLK Black History Month. On Monday, we observed Martin Luther King's birthday. We had a professional development day, and the first part of that morning began with important training on diversity and inclusion. Our buildings each honored MLK through age-appropriate activities and also carried on the theme throughout Black History Month. And some of those were, special assemblies throughout the district, supplemental reading material related to MLK's work, honoring African American heroes. Art and music classes also participated. Students developed posters, and the students created showcases throughout the district, and activities at the building such as Mix It Up Lunch, where kids enter the lunchroom and sit with students they may not know or have established a friendship with. So I think that was pretty neat. And then also the Mandarin 6th grade class. We will make the changes going into next semester, and we plan on offering Mandarin for the start of next school year as a full credit. So we'll be offering it for those students. To try to offer it at this time in the second semester, kids have already set their schedules, so it would have an impact on teacher schedules, student schedules, but we are excited about putting that together for the start of the year, and we've got plans in place.
All right, thank you. Board comments. Mr. Middlestat.
None.
Mr. Green.
No, sir.
Ms. Burkmeyer.
No.
Ms. DeWitt.
No.
Ms. Akavetti.
No.
Mr. Moses.
I got nothing.
Thanks for coming tonight. I apologize, I might have got a little upset, but it is frustrating when there's parts of what we do up here and we can't allow it. We can't talk about closed session, and to hear stuff is just amazing to me, because we're about to go into closed session to talk about negotiations with the teachers, and everybody up here is completely aware of our budget. So
I did not say I wasn't
we will.
aware.
I will end with that. Need a motion to go into closed session if that's the will of the board.
Pursuant to Section 8C.
Pursuant to Section 8C. It's always good when we got the attorney here.
I will make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Vote by roll.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. DeWitt?
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
No.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Burkmeyer, yes. Ms. Akavetti Hendershot?
Yes.
Mr. DeRue?
Yes. Board goes into closed session at 10:22 p.m. All right, we're back from closed session at 11:16 or 11:17. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.